This is an after-school program podcast.
Welcome to the Home Studio Hangout podcast, where we explore what it's like building, running, and working out of a home studio with your hosts, Joshua Matotek, Andrew Simmons, and many guests in different areas of the music industry.
And welcome back to the Home Studio Hangout podcast. How are we doing this week, everyone? It's just me today, just Andrew today. Josh is not going to be joining me because it's the holiday season and our schedules are both kind of crazy with family and work and all that kind of stuff. So I just wanted to take a little time today to kind of give you a little bit of maybe like a gift giving guide for either yourself or maybe some other musician or studio friends that you might want to give for, or maybe somebody in your family might be, a rising music producer or like wanting to get started or, has been doing it for a minute and, you want to give them something kind of unique and cool. So I have 5 things in this episode. It's going to be kind of a medium to shortish episode. I can kind of talk for a while on my own. So I'll kind of keep it concise as possible. But these are 5 things, no specific order, that I think would be really cool gifts. I think they're cool because I also have these things. So you know that they're good. There will be links to all of these things in the description of this episode. If you're on YouTube, there will be Amazon links, affiliate links. And on top of that, if you're in the podcast, I'm going to try to make sure that those links are in the podcast description as well, if these are things that you are looking for. Without further ado, let's get into it. Number one, the first thing is a candle. Now, you might think, oh, that's kind of generic. Well, firstly, this is a tobacco-scented candle. I just had it lit not too long ago to kind of but I like to light this thing kind of in the morning. To kind of get rid of the musty and stale smell of the studio. Sometimes you have a lot of people in the studio and it can get kind of sweaty smelling, I guess. A lot of people, late nights, studios are notoriously, like home studios specifically, are notoriously kind of hot because it's a lot of people crammed into a tiny room with hot gear, all day. So this candle will save everybody from having to worry about smelling all of that the day after. It kind of helps get rid of some of that scent. And I love it. This is just a generic tobacco candle I think I found at like a Marshall's or like a TJ Maxx or something. You can find them for like $15, $20, something like that. If you need a little gift to go to somebody at work or, somebody you work with, or maybe like a distant relative you're not trying to spend too much money on, that is a solid gift for that. Moving on, I'm going to take a sip of coffee real quick. And moving on to number 2, we're going to talk about coffee, in fact. This is, just my coffee. I made some earlier, but I actually have a bag of beans, and I would recommend going to your local coffee shop or roaster. Pretty sure there's, at this point at least in America that I know of, there's tons of great roasters, especially locally. This is a shop called Cooperative Coffee Roasters. They're in Asheville, North Carolina, which is like about probably like 30, 45 minutes away from me. But the shop that I work at a lot and the shop that I buy a lot of coffee at a lot uses them. So it both supports my friend Matt, who is the roaster at Cooperative, and my friend Josh, who is the owner at the coffee shop of Cohesive, where I buy that stuff at. So it kind of supports some local friends on top of wanting to make sure that I have great quality coffee. And that's the other thing. A lot of people in the music industry or like the studio world or musicians in generally like coffee. It's not necessarily like a guaranteed thing, but you know, you can always give this and you can always ask and see if they do like coffee. If they don't, then I would not recommend this. But you know, if it's something that they like, whole bean coffee from a local roaster, you could probably ask around at your local third wave coffee shop and find something that they would suggest. Cool. That's two of them. I'm going to end that by taking a sip of coffee, actually. Awesome. Number 3. This is a little Game & Watch that I actually bought for myself recently. It is a cool little thing that I didn't realize they were making. So back in the day, Nintendo used to make, before they started making systems or anything like that, they would make these old things called Game & Watches. If you've ever played Super Smash Brothers, there's a character named Game & Watch. That's what he's from, is the original like Game & Watch. Is like a reference to the original game that they would make. And it's these simple like jump, smash, you know, predetermined movement things. It's all about like timing and stuff. So they started re-releasing these. They're really cool. They did a first one, I want to say last year, maybe early this year, in 2021. That was a Mario themed one. And this one they just started releasing. And this is my favorite game, The Legend of Zelda. So this is a Legend of Zelda edition Game & Watch. Cool thing is, not only does it come with an original Zelda skin Game & Watch game, which I think is super cool. It also comes with 3 other games. So it comes with the original Legend of Zelda. It comes with the second game, The Adventures of Link. And it also comes with the Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening, which was a Game Boy game that I fell in love with. It was like this weird crossover Mario Zelda game where he was in like a dream world. It's really cool. So that's a cool little thing. On top of that, if you're watching, you can see this. It actually acts as like a clock, which is really cool. So the game system is just a clock, and it just has gameplay running around the time, the numbers and the time that's, you know, continuously counting. This for me was a really cool, I think it was like $40 or $50, something like that. So, and it comes with this cool little, this little case that you can set the Game & Watch in while the clock is running. And, I just put it on my desk, and I think it's super cool. It's a cool little like clock piece that you can kind of put around the studio. And is a cool little talking point too. And then if you're ever working and you just need to take a break, you need to take an ear break or something, and you just need to get your mind off something, you can just pick up the Game & Watch and fire up a quick little game. So if you're into Zelda or if you're into Mario, they make those two. I'm sure they make some other ones that they haven't released yet, or they might have like other individual versions. But check that out. I think that's a cool little different thing, especially for the gamer that is also a studio person, you know, who might need some aesthetic built into their studio. They might want to, you know, change up their aesthetic a little bit. So this is going to be the next one. Number 4 is going to be the first thing that's like straight up just a music thing. It is the Teenage Engineering Pocket Operator. And my gosh, are these things. I actually have 2 of them. I'm going to grab the other one too. I actually have 2 of them. I have the Sub, and I have the Street Fighter Edition sampler. I believe it is the KO. I don't remember the exact numbers, but all the links for these will be, you know, down below and everything. These things are awesome. Man, these things, I think me and Josh have talked about them before because Josh has the sampler as well. These things, if you just need a creative change of some kind, or if you just need to like, especially for the sampler, if you just need to, walk around in the house and try to like, grab some samples off of random house appliances, you're just feeling really stale with the sample choice that you have, and you don't want to go find every sample is just starting to sound the same for you. And then you just hear a cool noise. You can just grab this Street Fighter sampler, or the regular KO and the regular sampler. They both work the same. Mine just comes with Street Fighter noises from the game. That's the only difference. And you can go and grab that sample. It's got a mic to record it. Especially if you're doing lo-fi, this is super cool, because you can turn those sounds and then just record them back into your DAW and create your own sample. It's got some sample manipulation inside the unit as well, as far as time stretching and pitch and some warble and some different parameters like that. But also on top, and you can actually make it into a step sequencer. So if you record your voice saying something, you can chop it up kind of sampler style, which is super cool. So you can actually feed a vinyl or something into this and record it and then sample it that way. And maybe that's a way that you can get some different sounds. And then where did I put my sub? Oh, there it is. And then the sub is just it's a bass synth. It's a synth engine that's just a bass. It's super cool. It's got some great sounds. I mean, you can kind of hear it but like, they just got bunch of different, like, if you need something different, you need a breath of fresh air with your basses. You feel like your basses are getting kind of stale. You don't want to use a MIDI plugin, and you want to actually play something for a different kind of sound that no one else is going to have, something super unique. These are the way to go. They are roughly between $50 and $80 depending on where you find them and depending on what model you get. They have some that are just for rhythm sequencing. They have some that are just for drums. They have some that are like a synth engine for like lead synths and pads and stuff. They have a bunch of different options for you. So for the studio or aspiring musician in your life that is getting into like synth stuff, that is a really cool gift. I actually got one of those. The sub I actually got as a Christmas gift for my brother-in-law. Shout out to Will for that. And I loved it so much, and I used it on a bunch of random things to get some sounds that were super unique, that I ended up buying the Pocket Operator KO, the sampler one. I bought that one for myself, and it's been a great little thing to have. And even if I just need to fumble around and mess around with some beat patterns, different stuff like that, you can figure out some sequences on there. You can actually sequence on both of those to try out different patterns and things like that. Maybe you just need to get out of your DAW for a little bit to try something new. So yeah, there's that one. And moving on to my last item, which is like a bunch of items, but give the gift of reading. I think you've heard me talk about, I'm a big reader. I think that reading is one of the things that if you continuously do it, you're going to constantly grow. The people that you see that you may look up to, the most intelligent people or people in the industry, I find a lot of my heroes read a lot, or a lot of the people that I look up to read a lot. So here's just, a couple books that I got right here. We got, if you're buying specifically for a musician, we have How Music Works by David Byrne. Very cool book. Obviously, it looks super cool, very bright and orange. But it also goes through like sequencing. It goes through like genre naming and subgenre and studio recording and like the history of a bunch of studio recording. The history of like number charts and what stuff looked like in Paris and in America. And I don't know, it's big, not too big, but it's a fun read. And especially for the people that are super into music, they don't even have to be really a musician. If they are just very into music, this is an incredible gift. Whether they're just a lover of music or a maker of music, and anywhere in between, I think it would be a great book for them. And then my other book is The Daily Stoic, which I read about 2-ish years ago, and then I still come back to pretty much on the regular. It's a meditations book based on Stoicism, written by this guy named Ryan Holiday and Stephen Hanselman. It is I'll even, for the video watchers, I'll show you. It is just, each page is a day. Each even, labeled like, January 18th, January 19th, January 20th, whatever. So this is a great one to get around Christmas time because they can start reading it once a day at the beginning of the year. You can give this to anybody who's wanting to refine themselves, who's an avid reader, who likes to try new things, or somebody. I found it really helpful in business, in mindset shifting. It's very much based on wisdom and perseverance, and the art of living and kind of in general. So it works for pretty much anybody. But I found it from a business perspective. It's a really good way to reflect or start my day off. With something extremely well thought out and wise, and pour that into myself, and then reflect on that as I go through my day. If you're also interested, he has a podcast that's really, really good. But yeah, The Daily Stoic, great book. And then How Music Works by David Byrne, also a great book. Or I think both of these are like $25, $30, something like that. So we're keeping it all pretty cheap here. I think none of this is over really like $50, $80. The Pocket Operator is the most expensive thing. And then this last one kind of fluctuates, but you could also, if you know somebody who wants to get into reading, but isn't really like a book reader, you can actually gift an audible.com subscription for audiobooks. And I think I'm actually doing this soon for a family member. I'm going to gift about 3 months of Audible, which is roughly 3 books. And if they sign up at a specific time, sometimes they can get, 2 books for signing up for the first month. And then, a book after that for the next 2 months. That's huge. You're essentially buying them 4 books, 3 to 4 books, just to listen to. If they're trying to get into reading and they aren't much of a book reader, but they're more of a podcast listener, or a person who just likes to drive and listen and multitask like that. I think that's a gift that you can give that would be flexible enough for them to kind of choose what they want, but still feel like you gave them, the gift of reading. But yeah, just to kind of go over those real quick, we got my tobacco candle. Not coffee candle, tobacco candle, like 15-ish bucks. You can find it in any like Marshalls or Home Goods or TJ Maxx or something like that. We have the locally sourced cooperative coffee here. You can find something somewhere for you guys, regardless of where you're living. Like I said, there's a local roaster somewhere, and you can buy from them or from another local shop and give that bag of whole bean as a gift. And I feel like if they are into coffee, that is going to be something that they're going to find super interesting. Next up was the Game and Watch. It was about $50. Cooperative bag. The coffee bag was like, I want to say like $20. And then you have the Game and Watch. The Game and Watch game, and that little piece was about $50. Good if you need something to go on your desk. Good if you need something to kind of stylize your room a little bit. Like if you're a YouTube watcher, you could see that I have this little coffee setup behind me, and like my little wall thing with like my Bob and Larry and some books and stuff on it. It'll live back here a lot of the time as a cool, little thing for, a little aesthetic choice. And then next was the Pocket Operator, the Teenage Engineering Pocket Operators. They are really, really cool, depending on which one you get. Between $50 and $80. I don't remember them breaking $100. I could be wrong on that, but yeah, $50 to $80. If you want to keep it kind of cheap, they're super sick. I would highly recommend the KO, the Pocket Operator KO. It is, I think it's the KO33. It is really, really awesome for a sampler. You can get a lot of mileage out of it, and it's really, really flexible. Also, didn't mention this, but it comes preloaded with some samples too if you just want to get started out of the box. Very, very cool. And then lastly, your books. The Daily Stoic by Ryan Holiday and Stephen Hanselman, and How Music Works by David Byrne. I think those are great options, and if they're not a physical book reader, you can always buy them an Audible subscription. I think those are all great gift ideas. They're all things that I use. I even use Audible. I read both of those. The coffee I think is incredible. If you need a coffee suggestion and you don't care about where you get it from, feel free to order some Cooperative coffee and they'll ship it to you. But yeah, that's kind of it for my kind of rundown today. We're going to be back next week with some interviews, and I'm very excited for what we have going on in the new year. Me and Josh are going to come back super strong and more consistent, and yeah, we're super thankful for you guys to sticking with us. And if you haven't yet, please subscribe to whatever podcast platform you're listening to. If you're not watching this on YouTube, feel free to go check us out on YouTube. We're on the After School program, After School Podcasts channel. Feel free to subscribe to that. You'll get, us, and you'll also find my friend Shama and PD's podcast, Church Stories, which is just a comedy podcast making fun of random church dumb stuff that people do in church. It's freaking hilarious. So if you're wanting some comedy or, talking to us about, tech and music production life, then that's a great place for you to find that. Or if you're more of a podcast listener, make sure you subscribe, leave us a review. If you're on Apple Podcasts, that would be extremely helpful, because that's how we kind of get our name out there to new people that might not know that we exist, but are looking for something in the vein of what we do. If you're a Spotify person, actually, I'm going to put a questionnaire in the bottom of the Spotify the Spotify player, where you can answer. I'm probably going to do maybe something like, which of these gifts are you more likely to recommend to somebody? And then, it's like a little poll. I'm going to trying to test some stuff out with that. They just added this functionality recently. So just want to test and see what kind of engagement we can get on that. I think it would be super cool to get it's a way for us to get feedback from you guys. And it's cool that that's even an option for us. So yeah, thank you again for listening. Feel free to do all those things, or even if you just want to listen from week to week, we super appreciate your time and your attention to this podcast, this thing we come and do, and just hang out and chat every week as much as we can, obviously. And once again, thank you, and I hope you have a great week. See ya.